Hello and welcome to my podcast. My name is Melissa Snow and we're going to be talking about the Salem witch trials. And I like to read and then I like to relate to you guys after that. So this says, more than 300 years ago, 20 people were put to death for the crime of the witchcraft during the Salem witch trials. The most horrific part, the Salem witch trials happened under the aspect of the law. To understand and commemorate, I can't say that word, the dark period in our country's legal history, we're looking back at the country and the court proceedings and the law during the Salem witch trials and their impacts of American legal system. All right. This one says, from Hocus Pocus to the chilling adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch was a really good movie, by the way. Not a movie, but the series and the actual TV series was really good. And they should make it as a movie. So, all right. It's clear that people love witches. In fact, their most popular adult Halloween costumes are witches. Year after year, these are favored in fictional witches we know today. Cracking and black garb and pointy hats and broomsticks in hand have evolved a great deal over the past several centuries. More than 300 years ago, it was a felony to practice witchcraft in American colonies, defined by English law as attracting with magical powers bestowed by the devil. But it wasn't until legal failings, mass purana, and Puritan religious and society rules covered against the backdrop. Oh my god, my cat, you guys. I don't know if you just heard him meowing. Of economic, politics, uncertainty, and the most horrifying witch hunt against the innocent people occurred in the colonial Massachusetts. Whenever I talk, my cats think I'm talking to them, so they start meowing. You guys will probably see them in my video soon. During the Salem witch trials in 1692, more than 200 were accused of practicing witchcraft. 20 of those people were executed, most by hanging. One man was pressed to death under heavy stones, the only such state execution of its kind. Dozens suffered under the inhumane conditions as they waited in jail for months without trials. Many of them of the imprisoned were also tortured. At least one died in jail before the hysteria of abated in 1693. Such most tragedies of Salem witches trials became down to failure in court. And the laws during the time, laws that made such things as visions, dreams, and even testimony of spirits permissible evidence, and a court that accepted accusations so flimsy they would seem laughable today, and if they weren't so horrifying, unjust. Accusations spread. The Salem witch trials occurred just in Europe witchcraft craze. From the 14th to the 17th century was winding down, where an estimated tens of thousands European witches, mostly women, were executed. The chilling mayhem unfolded during the winter of 1692 in Salem Village. Now, the town of Danvers, I hope I'm saying this right, Danvers, Massachusetts, when 3 girls allegedly have strange visions and fits their dangerous with bewitchment by a doctor. Many modern theories suggest the girls were suffering from epilepsy, boredom, child abuse, mental illness, or even a disease brought on by eating right infections in fungus, according to the History of Massachusetts blog. This is so perfect that he is meowing while I'm talking about witches. I'm just kidding. Sheer vindictiveness is now considered a plausible expectation as well. Hold on one moment. I'm gonna go fix my cat. Sorry, you guys, my cat is not gonna stop meowing. I don't know what his problem is, but it's okay. He's fine. I don't know what he's doing now. He's like running around. So the girls blamed their odd behavior on 3 women considered social outcasts, including Titibus, a slave who was confessioned by have been coerced soon as a witchcraft allegation through the years swept more than 200 accused witches, including at least 1 child. Local, I cannot say these words. Please forgive me for not being able to say certain words. Local people questioned the accused and determined whether any changes were to be brought against them or charges, as Verona spread. Resides of Salem soon found themselves facing accusations from friends, neighbors, and families. Bearing false witness, committing perjury, and considered felonies in Salem. Under normal conditions, these convicted of such charges were prosecuted. Accused determine whether any charges were to be brought against them. A Verona spread residents of Salem soon found themselves facing accusing former friends, neighbors, and families, bearing false witness, committing perjury, and considered felons in Salem under normal conditions. These convicted of such charges were prosecuted in public forums. During the witch trials, however, individuals convicted of perjury would serve themselves for public humiliation. Sorry, I can't say that word for some reason right now. By accusing their neighbors. Yeah, people are not very nice. According for the amendment, that's what happened, and that's that part. The Puritans believe physical relations had several causes. For example, of the crops failed, devil may have played a role. With these worldwide, it was not a stretch for them to accept spectacle evidence of spirit visions, which was the primary evidence used in proof of guilt during the Salem witch trials. Evidence points to several factors that may have contributed to the mass hysteria. An influx of refugees from King William War with French colonists and race, smallpox, epidemic, and threat of attack of Native Americans, a growing rivalry with the neighborhood seaport of Salem towns and the simmering tension between leading families in the community created the perfect storm of suspicion of resentment by hysteria, believing the witches were also victims of scapegoating, personal vengeance, and special more against outspoken strong women. Of course, sorry, my cat, he's really like trying to get my attention. So sorry for that. Scapegoating, personal vengeance, and social mores against outspoken strong women. Of course, underpinning it all when the Puritans deeply held an extraordinarily influential religion belief, which were also certain to their legal system. I want everyone to forgive me for my cat being crazy and meowing, and it kind of threw me off a little bit, but I'm okay. So we're going to continue doing this. And yeah, and I will see you guys live too. So do not forget that I go live. Do not forget that I am in a group called PNW Ghouls Paranormal. That's Pacific Northwest Paranormal. And we're going to go around and we're going to go to haunted places and a few other stuff. So yeah, so join me with that. So this one says early witchcraft laws. This one says early witchcraft laws. The so-called Witchcraft Act of 1604 served as a primary English law of witchcraft, determining in felony. A witch convicted of a minor offense could be imprisoned for a year. A witch found guilty twice as sentenced to death. That's so messed up. In 1641, the General Court of Legislative Body of the Colony of Massachusetts Bay wrote the Body of Liberties and the first legal code established in New England. This collection of civil and criminal laws and rights include witchcraft among the capital offense. Citing biblical sources of its authority, it stated, if any man or woman of a witch that is hath of consulteth, I don't know how to say that word, which a familiar spirit, they shall be put to death. Exode 22, 188, default 13.6, 10 do it 17.26. That must be like legal term talk. I have no idea. The practice few witches were executed in colonial American prior to Salem witches and the trials. In the England tradition, clear that convicting proof of crime and needed for conviction of confession of a, especially with evidence and testimony of a two trustworthy people constituted the best proof. Through the Salem witch trials, pretended the U.S. Constitution and its Bill of Rights, protected by almost a century, legal scholars say the accused witches were largely divided in rights of which they should have been entitled under English laws. My cat, you guys, he is on one right now. I'm not even kidding. Changes of the American legal system. During the academic and with, during the academic of witchcraft accusations in Salem, the legal process changed. The trials followed the temporary suspicions of a colony charter due to political and religious tension between the colony of England. A new governor and a new chapter from England arrived in 1692, but the General Court did not have enough time to create any laws. On May 27, 1692, Governor William Phillips ordered the establishment of special courts known as the Court of Oyer and Timon, which translate to hear, and the determined representative to decide the case without specific colony laws. The judges accepted spectacular evidence, which included testimony and dreams of vision. Yeah, so we all have dreams and visions. So does that mean we're all witches? No. Does that mean we have to go to trial? No. I really think this guy back in the day, who, whatever his name is, I cannot remember his name right now. I'm sure it said it in here. He is a murderer. He needed to be convicted of murder, not these women. These women did nothing wrong, and if they were practicing witchcraft, who cares? It didn't do anything to anyone back then. Is it because you were scared of them? No. It shouldn't even be a thing back then. But laws were different back in the day. It was the 15, 16, 19, 1800s. And people got scared, and nothing was like that here. And they were doing all this even during the time before that. You know, and I just do not like this story for myself, but I wanted to tell it because that's what I do in my podcast. So here we go with the rest of the story. The Puritans believed that the physical relations had spiritual causes. For example, if the crop failed, devil may have played a role, and Satan could not take the form of unwilling person. So if anyone claimed to have seen a ghost or a spirit in the form of accused, that person must be a witch. Which this worldview, it was not a stretch of pretense. Sorry, I do not know how to say that word. Believing the spectacular evidence, which was the primary evidence of using the proof against guilt. In October, Increase Mather, the then president of Harvard, denounced that he used a spectacle evidence. It were better than 10 spectated witches should escape from one innocent person be commanded, he said, not long after Government Phillips dissolved the court of Oyer and Timon, or I don't know how to say that word. Oyer and Terminer. In January 1693, in January 1693, the newest Creator Suspector Court of Judge Jekyll began hearing the remaining witch trials. The judges could not accept spectacle evidence. Most of the remaining trials ended in 1957. Massachusetts formally apologized for the events in 1692. The Massachusetts state legislature was still exonerating accused witches as recently as the early 2000s. Yeah, like they should. It's not nice to go around and tell people that they're being witches when they're not. What if they were? Who cares? You don't burn people. You don't accuse people. You don't hang them. You don't be mean to them. You don't get scared of them because you don't understand it. Why do people do these things to each other? Especially back then, it was understandable that, yes, they were scared. No, the devil did not ruin your crops. Weather did. And it did not do anything to you. There was no devil in the crops. There was no witches to be accused. Just because you had a marking on your body, if you talked weird, looked weird, said anything different, if you acted a certain way, if you didn't like someone and you accused them of being a witch, then they were a witch. They did this to men too, but it was rare. And they would drown them. And if they, I think they were either floated or sank, one was a witch and one wasn't. I'm going to have to look that up. But witchcraft, you can use witchcraft very well. And sometimes if you're in the spirits of the dark arts with the devil, there are good witches and there are bad witches. There are good people and there are bad people. There are, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't have killed these women. In my opinion, you shouldn't have killed these women. I think that guy that did all this was a murderer, going around town accusing people of witchcraft and stuff. I just think he liked being a killer. I think he liked being in law and being able to hurt people and do all that stuff. So we'll get more into the Salem witch trials later on. And then we'll get into Vlad the Impaler. And we'll get into all these Halloween stories soon because we are in spooky season. So I want to apologize for my cat meowing in the background and me not being able to pronounce things. It kind of tripped me up a little bit because he was doing that. And I don't pronounce things very well. And yes, I do read the stories before. And when you're talking on a podcast, you kind of trip up on your words. So please forgive me. So the other day we went to we were at the Greenwood Cemetery for about 5 hours yesterday. Me and my friend we took pictures. We talked to the spirits. Michael and Alice came through, and I found Howard, you guys. Howard keeps coming through. My dad did talk to me again, and I heard some laughing when I said, that was my dad. And then he laughed. So maybe my dad will be coming through and talking to me. That's kind of crazy though, but I want to thank everyone for joining me today. And if you see me live, please come in and join me. I will be here, and I'm going to be doing battles with my friend and some other people. People tried to battle me the other day, and I was at the graveyard, and when I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing, they're like, oh my God, no, and then they got off really fast. So don't get scared of the graveyard. They didn't do anything to you, just like the witches didn't do anything to you. I'm just kidding. All right, you guys, that was my podcast for today, and I hope you enjoyed my video, and I will be live, and I will see you guys soon. I just want to say, stay safe, have a good day, a great rest of your week, and a great month. Peace out, everyone. Bye.